Now, it appears the leadership of Parliament is divided among itself over its new proposed ultra-modern 450-seater edifice. Majority Leader Oseche Mensah-Bonsu has been justifying at a news conference today why the edifice is crucial. However, his colleague on the other side, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, was absent at that conference, prompting suggestions there may not be consensus on the matter. Mr. Oseche Mensah-Bonsu said he cannot state as of today whether Parliament will abandon the plans to build that new chamber despite public outcry. According to him, no agreement has been reached and procurement processes have not been concluded. He insists that the move to build a new chamber is not an executive decision, but one taken by Parliament as an institution.
Parliament, at the level of the board, that is the Parliamentary Service Board, is considering the possibility of constructing a new chamber. Let me begin by saying that this has nothing to do with the executive. People want to let it appear as if it is the executive that is taking the decision for us. Let me say that it is not an executive decision. I want to underline that because some media houses and some members of the public, citizens of this country, perhaps for want of relevant information, want to posit that the executive that's taken a decision. As I said, that is most untrue. At this stage, the process is not concluded, and the financials have not been concluded, procurement has not been concluded, the agreement is not being firmed up because these ones have not been concluded.
Majority Leader Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, well, even before the matter comes up before Parliament, there is opposition to the plan from both the majority and the minority MPs. Minister of Information and MP for Ofase Ayerebi Kojo Opon-Nkrumah is of the opinion the House would have to reconsider.
It came to me as a surprise when I heard it in the news that Parliament was constructing or was supposedly going to construct a new chamber. So this morning, for example, we had a caucus meeting, inquiring that what is this idea about, and we are being told that the Parliamentary Service Board is mooting an idea that a new chamber be constructed. How much it costs, who is constructing, what is the need for this chamber, all of that has not even been, and I'm sure you've spoken to members of Parliament. Members of Parliament have not been engaged on this matter even. The Parliamentary Service Board is the one that we are told has mooted this idea. It doesn't appear to be a popular idea even among members of Parliament. I must be honest with you. It doesn't appear to be a popular idea even among members of Parliament. So again, if indeed that engagement takes place, I'm very sure that there will be a lot of members who will speak against it, that it is not a priority at this point in time.
Parliament may have every reason to have that facility, but the timing is very wrong, not at this very time that we need 450 seating capacity. How many are we? We may make the argument that, we are creating spaces not for new members of Parliament or maybe for the judiciary. So sometimes when they come here, they will. But currently, as where we stand now, as an institution, as a Parliament, that shouldn't be the priority.
Concerns, genuine or not, as a result of lack of information, as we are now being told, should be directed at our executive, because at the end of the day they will make the decision to bring either a loan facility or a contract or whatever arrangement that is in place to Parliament and request parliamentarians to either approve or disapprove. So why allow that to happen as citizens when we can stop it even before it is birth?
So you want the executive and the president to show leadership and probably pull brakes on this idea?
Exactly. I mean, you recall, and it is still online, the graphic published it. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in 2017 was the first to give a hint that government was planning to put up a new chamber block. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, our vice president. So it is government business. And so government should not even think of that idea of bringing it to Parliament. Let us target our government.
Let's listen to all views and come to a consensus as to whether the timing is an appropriate or prudent for us to embark on such a project or not. So I leave the judgment to the good people of this country.
Well, you had some of the members of parliament there. Well, the majority leader has, however, apologized to his colleague MPs for not briefing them on the matter before it went public.
Let me use this occasion to apologize to our members of parliament, because it is most inappropriate for members of parliament to hear about this for the first time in the press, as happened after the events of last week Thursday. I myself was late to that media encounter, and when I got there, I met the minority leader and a board member, the Honorable Hakmanowusu Ajimang, and I was asking whether they had agreed on that, because honestly, I was not aware of that arrangement, and I thought that was going to be limited to the board members, because we needed further briefing on where we were with the project. Unfortunately, I think that process itself also, I must admit, boomeranged somewhat, because it's most inappropriate. The facility, if we get to construct it, is going to be for members of parliament, and the members of parliament should get to know of the process that the board was engaging in, rather than to learn from it, from the press, what was going on. And certainly that was not the best. That's why I'm saying that I want to use the occasion to apologize to members of parliament.
Apology accepted or not accepted? I have a man in the studio who will be telling us about that. But are you satisfied with the response from Parliament on that matter? You can send your comments to us on our Facebook page, and we will share them with the rest of those of you who are watching. But Occupy Ghana has also issued a statement, and they're questioning Parliament's priorities. And I'm going to read that to you momentarily. But let me engage Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who has just joined us in the studio. Joseph is our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent. Now, Joseph, it's interesting, this press conference. We expected it since yesterday. Yeah. We were told that it was going to be a joint press conference. Yeah. Look, now tell us about it. How did it become a majority-led press conference?
So there's an explanation from the minority leader, that the minority leader said he had other engagements, which in his words had bagged him up that morning and made it impossible for him to show up for the press conference.
Okay.
We sought further details on that from him as to what exactly it was, because it was a very important issue that needed to be discussed. But he said he was only relaying the necessary information that had to be relayed. But later we found out from ABA Husseini, who is the minority spokesperson on communication, that it's because of the minority's collective opposition to the idea of building a chamber, which is how come the minority leader didn't show up at the press conference. And we've gathered other details that apparently the party itself has sought to have them in line and insist that they abstain from any processes that would look like they are endorsing the entire process. Because you recall that when the minority leader joined the majority leader and the speaker on Friday for a conversation on this, the minority leader was very categorical. He actually made suggestions on how the chamber block should be amended to make it look good. He suggested there should be a faith room. He suggested there should be what he calls a diplomatic room for former presidents and former speakers of parliament. And again, to quote him, he said they will do what they need to do internally to get the processes going. But clearly, looks like following all the backlash, there is some attempt to withdraw.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Again, the majority leader issues an apology to his colleague MPs. Was this an apology accepted?
It's being taken in two ways. So, for example, Samson Ahi, who is the MP for Boedi, makes the point that this is an apology that the expectation is that he should be delivering to MPs on the floor or directly, rather than to use the media platform to want to convey an apology directed.
So what he expects another apology on the floor?
He expects a conversation on the issue. The majority leader, as the leader of government business, bringing up the issue on the floor of Parliament for a conversation, and then he possibly would use that opportunity to render the apology.
Have you had the opportunity to interact with any of these MPs, both on the majority and the minority side, to hear what they think about this apology?
So the point they make is it's accepted, but they think the forum has to be a one-on-one conversation with them, and then that apology could be accepted. And then particularly those on the minority side make the point that probably that's where the whole conversation should have ended, and that you should have added some additional points about how they are pulling brakes on the entire project, rather than him saying that that's a decision that still has to be taken by the
I'm just going to have you stay with me a little longer whilst I read this Occupy Ghana statement, because there are a few questions they raise which perhaps the press conference could help us answer. They say that Occupy Ghana, like several Ghanaians, is trying to come to grips with the news that our parliamentarians want a new 450-seat chamber. We have noted the profound anger and disbelief among a lot of the population, and for good reason. They go on to say that looking at the extent of work planned, one can easily summarize that it will not be cheap. And so they raise several, they say it raises several questions, and these are, they put some of the questions here. One, how is this project going to be funded? 2, how is this project considered a priority at this time? 3, why do we need to provide for an increase in the number of lawmakers? Do we need 450 lawmakers? And of course, these questions were not perhaps answered at the press conference, but Joseph, you can give us an idea. They again ask, why has the Public Affairs Directorate of Parliament remained mute on this matter and not provided answers to inform citizens?
So where is the funding coming from? There's a budgetary allocation, something in the region of 72 million cedis, which is just around $15 million, which obviously is woefully inadequate for a project like this. The Speaker says he's looking for funding from elsewhere, including the Chinese and the Indians, to support the project. What's the second question?
The second question is, how is this project considered a priority at this time? I mean, of course,
the MPs insist that the current chamber is not helping with debates. People are unable to catch the Speaker's eye. The space in there is not enough in terms of the walkway. Security-wise, it's not good enough, because the majority of them makes the point that as it looks like currently, anyone could walk into the gallery and pour a seat on the Speaker right from the gallery, and that doesn't happen in any parliament. So that the gallery needs to be partitioned of the main chamber itself. So for security and other reasons,
interesting.
I think it's a priority.
So I'll skip the next question and give you the final one. That says, why has the Public Affairs Directorate of Parliament remained mute on the matter and refused to provide answers to Ghanaians? Now, there was a press conference
organized by the Public
and at this, it was organized by the, because at this press conference he indicated that the decision to build to do this construction is not by government, it is by Parliament.
The Parliamentary Service Board, they say, took this particular decision to go ahead with the necessary construction.
So whose failure was it? The board or the Parliament's Public Affairs Directorate?
So,
to first of all put the information out before it was outdoored the way it was.
So the majority leader, for example, admits that it was his failure, that he first of all didn't communicate, this first of all to MPs, subsequent to which all of that information would have got into the public. So there is some admission at the level of leadership about the said failure when it comes to not communicating enough, which they are hoping to fix now and provide some clarity.
But it is still unclear whether this project will be abandoned or,
we put that question specifically to the leader of government business, the majority leader, and he said that that is not the decision that he can announce now. He says that they are still going through the processes, procurement and all of that are not done yet, and that when it's done, everything will be taken to the floor of Parliament for MPs to take a decision as to whether they want it or otherwise. So it's too early for anyone to take a stance on whether the project brakes are being pulled on it or otherwise. We should all wait when the Parliamentary Service Board is done with the processes. It will be brought to the floor for a debate, and MPs will either.
Well, okay, well, it does sound as though the MPs have taken a position already.
It's very clear that this is something that leadership alone is in support of, and the backbenchers are against.
Yeah. So why don't they just call it off?
They say it's procedure.
Okay.
The Parliamentary Service Board goes through the process, gives the necessary approval, eventually will be referred to the floor itself for MPs to eventually take the decision.
And hopefully the process doesn't cost us any more money.
So that's something that came up today again, as to how much has been sunk into the project thus far. Even with the architects doing the design and bringing it, because he's probably not Father Christmas. The majority leader says he's unaware of how much may or may not have been paid to him, something the minority MPs disputes.
Interesting. Joseph, I'll let you go, but stay with me whilst I go through some of the comments on Facebook. Augustine Wattil says, problem of the day. Okay, well, I don't know how that question is going to go. Let's open it up and see. Let's open up Augustine's question. Oh, wow. Well, that's a very long one. That is a very long one. Go on our Facebook page and read it. I can't read it right now. It's a very long one. Mohammed Abdullah says, I don't know whether these MPs have the country at heart. We are not fortunate as Ghanaians having selfish people as our leaders. Nana Hatche says, we're not to answer this question. Do a simple survey in Parliament now and ask the same question. Gather their response and give us a final conclusion. Are they themselves satisfied with the justifications from their leadership as far as this subject matter is concerned? Adams Ali says the same explanation was given about the cathedral, and since they will also have their way, our Kokromoti will also show them the way coming next year. It's Silas says, I still don't understand this. Are they in the chamber with ghosts that we may probably not be aware of? Why are our parliamentarians only thinking about themselves? Are they really representing the constituents as they have been sent there to do? You have a lot of questions. You say, meanwhile, you go into the chamber to see less than 150 members in the House. So who is going to occupy that 450 seats, whilst 275 we have can't be in full? Okay, you mean they're not present all the time? Why are we always trying to copy people? Meanwhile, we're not that dependent. You go on and on and on, and you call them greedy leaders.
Barnabas.
Okay.
The Barnabas comments looks interesting.
Barnabas, okay. Barnabas says, I just read somewhere, quote, why don't they create a WhatsApp group so that they can all work from home and make the speaker the admin? Barnabas, seriously, well, that's savage, quite savage. But you know, the minority MPs have said that do not target the MPs with your you know, the backlash. They're saying that the public outcry should be directed at government, because government is the one that's spearheading the project. But the majority leader says,
well, he again made the point today, denying that the idea is originating from the executive and that it is Parliament that's actually pushing this, and
so
not Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
More of the confusion there for you. Imanoke Yabwa says, what response? We don't want a new chamber when there's still more to be done to bring the country out of the doldrums. Must we sacrifice everything for the comfort of politicians? Must they also not sacrifice for the good of the country? Enough of the self-seekers. Typer 1 says, we are absolutely not satisfied at all. So the question really is whether you are satisfied with the explanations you're getting. Abrefi Papebi says, we are not satisfied. In fact, we don't need it. We need the money for free SHS and roads. Alhaji Abdullah Ibn Itban, they should employ all the nurses, make sure every SHS can accommodate about 2,000 students, create job opportunities for the youth, build and expand health and educational facilities before they can proceed with whatever they want to do. Okay, we don't entertain insults, Alhaji, so check the comments. Well, final comments. Michael John says, Chapter 13 of the 1992 Constitution variously vests the control of all public funds in Parliament. Now, if Parliament was not properly briefed, how was successful payments and protocols followed to pay the amount? We don't know whether he's been paid.
We are not sure, but questions have come up, because even this is something that should have gone through tender. The Speaker has told us that 3 companies submitted their bids. One of them was selected. But some members of the tender committee in Parliament are making the point that this never came to them for the necessary approval, and so they are questioning where that claim is coming from, that there was actually a tender process that led to Ajayi being selected. I
think, quite frankly, every day more questions arise than answers, and that's not good. And
one of that documents that we've laid hands on is that on the 19th of June, just a few days ago, the Speaker of Parliament had officially written to the President, and we have a copy of that letter. We would share that subsequently, indicating that they are readying the chamber and that the sword cutting of, for the project will be at the end of this month. and they were inviting the president to come cut the sword for it.
So,
then raises the question,
again, this corroborates the point that the Osei Chairman Sabunsu makes, that the idea is coming from Parliament.
Exactly, but then it also raises questions, as the minority MPs are raising, that how come are you cutting sword for a project that you are claiming now you've not finalized the procurement and the financials?
And we don't even know the cost of it.
And we don't even know the cost.
And the parliamentarians don't even say they don't even know about it. And the people of Ghana who are funding, whose taxes are funding you, paying you every month, don't even know about it.
And
we'll have to end it.
Well, the opposition is coming from both the majority and the minority. The backbenchers.
It looks like interesting times ahead, but there's so many questions that need answers. Joseph, thank you very much. You've helped us answer a few questions, even though you're not. We didn't vote for you as an MP, but there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. And so the conversation is still ongoing. Join us on social media, facebook.com/JoyNews on TV. Log on to our YouTube, check out the conversations, put your comments there. On Twitter, it's at JoyNews on TV. Let's keep talking and let's see how it goes.